All right, so we are live. Thanks a lot, Mohit and Gaurav, for joining in. And for the audience, let me give you a quick intro about who Mohit and Gaurav are. Both of them are students at BITS Goa campus, and I met them in second year of college. And in terms of entrepreneurship, these guys are the ones I look up to, and they're just killing it in their particular spaces. So I thought, why not bring them on board and let's talk about how students can get into the field of startups and maybe build the next big company, right? And these guys run something called Algocart. It has over, like right now they're in the beta testing phase, but it reached the finals of Y-combinator, which is quite a big deal. If you don't know what Y-combinator is, it's the world's most prestigious startup accelerator. And these guys made it to the finals of Y-combinator. And to be honest, the product is something that's super innovative, and the hustle and the grind they put in, the teamwork, and the way they build startup is something really fascinating, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So without any further ado, Mohit and Gaurav, just give a quick intro about who you are and what are you guys up to.
Sure. Thank you, Harish. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for calling us on this live event. So yeah, we both are fifth year students right now at BITS Goa, and we started off in 2018 initially with a different product,
Hmm.
but at the same time we realized we were initially trying to build a no code backtesting platform for people to
Okay.
backtest their trading strategies without requiring to code. But then at the same time, Zerodha, they launched Tweak and we realized there's a much better potential in a different field in the wealth advisory or investment advisory segment.
Hmm.
And we felt that using technology we can democratize good sophisticated investment advisory, and that's
Yeah.
why work towards that. My personal experience, so I've been involved, being a engineering background. I never went, dwelled too much deep into engineering, but I was very much interested into finance. And our
Hmm.
finance club at our college, Wall Street Club, it helped us a lot. It taught us a lot of things, and I got pretty much interested into that. And then I did a couple of internships at some US hedge funds, and then those internships were very crucial because they taught me the way that those markets work, how do they work, how do they function, and all of those things, which we went on and we implemented it in Algocard too. So
Okay.
that's it.
So, how I got involved with Algocart is I was working on some other startup in campus, and that's when I met these guys, and I found what they are doing very innovative. So I just jumped ship and I started working on this. I've also freelanced with a lot of other early stage
Hmm.
startups, so I know how to build, initial products, initial MVPs that can get you to a point where you can start scaling it up. I've also
Hmm.
interned with Amazon, so I have experience both at working at startups and big organizations.
Yeah.
So those are the sort of skills I bring to the table. I'm handling mostly tech at Algocard,
Hmm.
and currently we are on the phase where we are looking to scale it up in the next 2 3 months, looking to make the product more robust and just take it to the next 1,000 10,000 users.
Amazing. So Gaurav, my question to you is, how was your experience at Amazon, and how would you compare working in a corporate versus running your own startup?
So in a corporate, you are owning a small part of the big puzzle. So they
Hmm.
have they have demarcated a certain set of tasks for you, and you have to complete those. There'll be a lot of people who you'll be accountable to. You will be accountable to your teammates. You'll be accountable to your manager, right? But in a startup, you have to define your own task list. You have to think on your own how you can take the product forward, and you basically have to think in terms of the company. You're accountable to the company in general. You're not accountable to some person. You're accountable to the company, and you have to basically take the company from 100 to, let's say, 150 users. How can your feature help do that? So that is the main difference between the two.
Amazing. And my question to Mohit is, how do you come up with a startup idea? How do you know that, hey, this is something that's worth pursuing for the next 2 3 10 years? How do you know if it's if it like matters at all?
Sure. So I feel it's not a single point of time where you felt that way. So we started off working on a single product, right? AlgoSim. and then we used to ideate on what are the things that we can do for the Indian markets. As you know, the Indian capital markets are growing very fast. We are increasingly seeing more and more retail participation into stock markets, into bonds,
Mm.
mutual funds, ETFs, everything, right? So uh, we started from that hint that this market is growing, something can be built, and we realized one major indicator that you can see is you can just check out other developed countries and you can see if something similar is being done there. So if something has been proven correct there, then you might have a chance here. It's not always that
Mm.
if something works in US it might work in India too, but it has high probability, right? So we used to ideate on all of those things, and that's when we found out about these robo advisors, these wealth management firms, um, which who do the same thing, and they have billions of asset under management in US and China, right? So we looked at these early indicators.
One thing I would like to add to Mohit's thing is we should look at information gap in the market, look at a solution that exists at the top of the layer, and think of how technology can help distribute that. So what we are doing, we are providing algorithmic trading. This solution exists for people who have lots of funds. Let's say you are investing 3-4 crores in a hedge fund, right?
Mhm.
The hedge fund can manage your money using algorithms. But what if we can manage money of small people using those same algorithms? And we
Mhm.
can do that today using technology. So
Mhm.
when you see that sort of distribution happening using technology, I think there's a big idea there that you can pursue.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And how do you build a team? Because I see a great team over here. Mohit, maybe because of his finance background, and Gaurav, you have a technology background. And to be honest, like a lot of people fail in the technology part. Like they have amazing ideas, but then like tech co-founder nahi mil raha hai abhi, how can I build the product in the first place? So how do you think? How do you go about the team building part? How do you find people?
Sure. So for like in our case, when we started off, Gaurav was the hotshot tech guy in the campus for
Mm-hmm.
startups. Right? Everyone was after him, and so I'll just tell you how we got Gaurav. Right. So the first thing is that every founder needs to do is they need to sell that dream.
Right.
So we told him what our idea is, what our vision is, what we are trying to build, and he got very enthusiastic about it, and he fortunately he came and help build this product. So I feel the first step is to sell the dream,
Right.
sell the vision to guys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to sell it to them, then they'll join you, they'll understand the importance of that, how big a impact it can bring, and that is the first step. After that, I feel it's a lot of things.
The other thing is, why would a tech guy join you? Let's say there's a best tech guy in your campus. Why would he join your team? So for him to join the team, it has to be something that's challenging to him. So that person is also in college. Even he has to go through a learning curve, right? And if he sees that he can learn something new, and you're providing him that platform, and you're giving him problems to solve that other people are not able to provide, then you can attract great talent.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is you have to identify what sort of a startup you are. Are you a
Mm-hmm.
logistically heavy startup, or are you a technologically heavy startup? So if you are a technologically heavy startup, you can scale up. You can scale up your product in not more, let's say, in a team of just 10 people, right? But if you're a logistically heavy startup, you might need a team of 50 people. For example, if you're doing an edtech startup, right, and you need to make a lot of question answers, you need to make a lot of practice material. You need that sort of manpower getting behind it and uh, generating that content. But with tech startups, you can have 2 or 3 great coders, and they can help build your product. So that is also one of the important things to identify.
Got it. Got it. I'm interested to know how your freelancing journey. Let's just talk a bit about, Gaurav, your freelancing journey. How do you get started, and how have the skills that you acquired in your freelancing journey helped you in sort of building Algocard?
Right. So my first freelancing stint was at the end of my 2nd year, and that sort of happened because, let's say, I was in my 2nd year, and I was working in a startup. Right. And that startup was, let's say, 1 crore turnover. And I was working in a startup. And I was working in a startup. And that startup was, let's say, 1 crore turnover. And I was working in a startup. And that startup was, let's say, 1 crore turnover. And that startup was because of a bit of a stroke of luck. So I was interning with Upgrad at that point, which is a startup based out of Mumbai,
Yeah.
and someone just circulated a message on the group saying they need a front end developer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this company was actually inside the YC cohort of that year. So this was summer, right? So they were inside YC and they needed to make a prototype before the YC demo day. So if you
Oh.
Y-Combinator, they have a 2 month training school, and at the end of the training school, you have to pitch your product to a bunch of venture capitalists.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to show some product, and these guys didn't even have a product. So they needed
Wow.
someone who can help build the prototype, and that's when they got in contact with me. And yeah, so I started working with them, and of course you learn a lot when you freelance. Like, I would suggest everyone who's watching this video to try their hand at freelancing. Maybe initially you can start doing it for absolutely free, and then
Mm-hmm.
as you get a bunch of projects under your belt, you can start charging. And there's a lot of money to be made in freelancing. So don't start with saying that I want to get paid for every project. You can start with a bunch of free projects and then get paid for the project. So after that, I've also worked with US based startups who have paid me a lot for very small projects.
Mm-hmm.
Freelancing. One more important point about freelancing is you can try going through Upwork. So on Upwork, the only difficult part is getting your first project on Upwork. Once you get that, it's very easy to get the next few ones, because after you've gotten your first project, you get a star rating on Upwork.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
get a review. So
I'm
once you have
interested to know, how did you find your first client? How was your experience in finding your first client?
when you're finding a first client on Upwork, you have to be honest. You have so whenever you are applying, you give a cover letter. You write a cover letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Telling them why you're the best guy and you
Yeah.
have to pay. So let's say they are looking for someone who can work in $15 per hour. You can bid for, let's say, I'll do it for $12 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you can write a cover letter saying, see, this is my first freelance gig on Upwork, but this is my past experience outside of Upwork. And you can share some screenshots. And then you can tell them what experience you have and why you're the best fit, and how, like, you can give them a time frame. This is the time period I'll take to finish off the task. And if you communicate everything properly to them, if you are totally transparent, there's a good likelihood that you'll get the job.
Well, by
And
the way, when you were freelancing, what skills did you have? Like, was it React?
when I was freelancing, I had the Mern full stack skills.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is actually a very good point you raised. You need to know what are the most valuable skills
Sought
out
after.
there. Yeah. So if it's React, you should gain experience in React. In 1 month, you can learn good enough React to start doing some free projects at least, and then you can scale
Mm-hmm.
your skills.
Okay. So on an average, can you give an estimate about how much a Merge Stack freelancer could earn?
Um, it could once you are experienced, it could easily go up to $20 an hour, and
Amazing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's around 1,500 rupees per hour. And
Mm-hmm.
these are really well paying projects that you could land if you get some experience. In fact, $20 per hour is not that expensive for the US startup, but it actually is a big number for you. So
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
is obviously this disparity, and
Yeah.
you can cash in on that.
Yeah, I like the dollar to INR conversion because in the US the issue is log bahut kam hai, they don't get people, and
Right.
plus salary demand is too high. And in
Right.
India, the advantage of sort of doing US projects is that anyway dollar to INR is pretty high, so you get paid a lot compared to your Indian counterparts.
Yeah.
Also, the projects you get to work on are quite innovative. So I worked on
Mm-hmm.
Valley-based projects, and both of them were extremely innovative. So you get to learn a lot. You get a new sort of exposure. If you're working
Mm-hmm.
for startups, it's sort of the same thing again and again. But when you look at a Valley-based startup, it's something
Can you
absolutely
give
new.
an example of a project that you worked on?
Yeah. So one of the project I was working on got adopted in the Stanford Medical School. It
Wow.
it was a collaborative diagnostic tool. So doctors, they can collaborate for diagnostic purposes. Let's say there's an X-ray of lung, right? So they'll take a picture of that and they'll share it in a community of doctors, and
Mm-hmm.
then doctors can draw on that X-ray using the web app itself, and then they can write comments, and they can basically collaboratively diagnose what the disease could be. So this was one of the tools I was working on during my freelance journey.
Oh, that's quite innovative. And
Yeah.
Mohit, how was your finance journey? How did you get into finance? Like, did you start with trading stocks, or how was that?
Yep. So I believe the first step is to, start learning, start to get to know more
Mm-hmm.
about finance. So I started off with our finance club. I used to attend all these lectures, get to understand all of these fundamental things. And then I found this amazing, resource which everyone uses. It's Zero the Varsity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a great handbook. You can just go through that easily and you get a good idea about that, right? So I started off with that. I read about what are stocks, how do they move, what are the different types of analysis that you can do. And then when I think I had a fair idea, I started trading, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
got a brokerage account, I started trading and investing. And yeah, so that was the idea to, first learn, make yourself comfortable. And once you're comfortable, then, you can actually start putting money into investing and see if it works for you.
Mm-hmm. So, long time back, I made a video which said this Bitsian pays his own fees, and then it shot up. So, why don't you tell us about that story? How do you pay your fees at Bits?
Sure. Yeah. So, when I started off in college, Gary Vee was getting
Mm-hmm.
famous. And I saw this video. I think everyone has seen that how you should not get into college debt, right? And you should
Mm-hmm.
not get a loan for studying. So all of these things were there. And, at that time, I felt, taking a college loan would not be a good idea. And you'll have to pay high interest rates and all of those things. So I thought, okay, let me try to find a good income source, try to find something by which I can pay my own fee. So I started off working with WorldCourt. So
Mm-hmm.
WorldCourt was this, US hedge fund, and our primary work was there to make quantitative trading strategies. So now, how do you get those skills, right? So the first step towards that is learn about finance basic, finance fundamentals. Then you learn about Python, data science, and all of these things. And then you do a couple of projects on, implementing a research paper, right, in the Indian stock market data. You
Mm-hmm.
do those things, you get an idea about what are the things that that are followed in the industry. So I yeah, started earning around 50,000 per month initially for them, and then at the same time there was this global competition of TrexCon. So they
Mm-hmm.
held global alpha research competition, and I participated in that. It was a 2 month long competition. I got in fourth position after 2 months. So I got a job offer from there. It was a remote work, and after an interview, I got selected. So I started working for them, and they used to pay $1,000 per month, right? So those that money was coming in, and after that, some of the money stream was coming from my investing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that combined, I started to pay my own fees, and yeah, it felt good to not
Yeah.
take that burden, because as Gary Vee says, right, if you take that burden, right, so I've seen people taking loans, and what happens is you have to pay loan after you graduate, right? So even if you want to do something of your own, you cannot, because you'll have to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad thing I feel, but I believe it doesn't give you the freedom, and your pathways might get restricted because of that. And you might want to do something else, but you'll have to do this because of this obligation. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was my thinking, and that's why I started with that. But yeah,
It's quite inspirational, man. Like so many students want to pay their own fees, and kind of went out there and did it. So it's kind of cool. I don't know how college helped you guys. maybe it could be in acquiring skills, or maybe it could be the alumni network. First of all, first question is, did college help you at all? Like, if you were at a college, like say SRM, would it have been the same experience? And secondly, how did college help you guys?
So I believe if I was in SRM, I wouldn't have met someone like Gaurav, right?
No,
Hugely talented.
one thing is obviously about the people.
Yeah.
Of
Mhm.
course, there will be great people at SRMs too. And one thing that college helps you, it helps you in is meeting great people. And one thing that I think BITS helps us in is to, bunk college and work on
Exactly.
something. So my hostel room was the office for Algocard, and that's where we coded up most of it. Like I remember we used to just stay in my room from 11 in the night till 6 in the morning and code, and ship products. So
Mhm.
that was one thing that Bits helps us in. You can
Yeah.
first thing is living in hostels gives you the freedom to own 24 hours of your time. You can choose what to do with it. Second thing is you meet great minds in Bits, and
Mm.
obviously the flexibility that Bits admin provides us to only attend labs and you'd be fine.
How many classes have you bunked until now? Or should I ask, how many classes have you attended?
Yeah, that's the right question for me. At least I didn't used to attend classes
Yeah.
after my first semester. Even I just attended the till T1. That is like 3 weeks.
Before, so aside,
Oh,
not endorse this.
Yeah, we don't endorse this.
Yeah, you should attend
a
classes.
lot of bits 2020 batch are watching this, so
Yeah, I know how these guys are attending college these days. They have YouTube videos playing in the side and lectures playing on the next tab. So
yeah. So,
yeah,
like last week, I had a live stream with Mehul Mohan, founder
yeah,
of Codedam, and he
yeah.
said, "पूरे college में मैं बस 16 classes को गया हूँ, and hostel room was quite expensive for me." So I don't know, like people who do something out of the box, I don't know, they tend to bunk a lot of classes.
Yeah, it's about time allocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to take out some time out of somewhere. So maybe it is out
How
of
do you
bunk.
manage though? Like studying before exams, or
Yeah, and like I don't have a good, scorecard or what do you say, CGPA. So I cannot comment on that. But
I,
he
I have
has
a
pretty much
I
balanced it
have
all.
I have a decent one. That's because your hostel mates will teach you in the end moment.
mm,
So there would be some people who are going to all lectures and he would teach you in the last moment, and that helps most of the times. That helps better than
Yeah.
attending lectures for sure because these guys know what is going to come in the paper somehow.
Yeah, yes. So there are some hacks. So college life is all about learning hacks. So it's
mm,
not like the one who studies every time will get more marks. There are
yeah.
certain hacks that you need to know about your college, the system that they follow, and if
Mm,
you have them, I feel you can get a decent grade at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. So at least in my software engineering paper, I just looked at past 5 years paper, and there was a proper pattern in which he was repeating questions.
oh.
So I was like, okay, this is exactly what is going to come, and I was able to score quite a lot in that paper. So that you can figure out hacks.
Mm.
There's a very important saying like you should work smarter than working harder.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to know, how was your initial days at Algocart, right? Right from the time you met to the first prototype launch. How was that, small time gap? What do you guys do in that? And yeah, explain that. And then my second question would be, how do you find your first customer?
So I think we started in our 3-1, third year, first semester. We were just done with our mid-sems and we started working on the product. It was Algo Sim back then.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you do is you get the design right. So we sat with our designer, Samarjeet, great guy,
Mm-hmm.
super talented. He
Yeah.
also does full stack web and DevOps. So we sat with him, we did the designs. Once the designs are locked in, you start developing the product. It took us, I think, around 3 to 4 weeks to get the product out. And in the last week, I remember Mohit was always saying, ki, are we going to deploy tonight? Are we going to deploy tonight? And it's always something or the other that comes before you finally ship, because you have to take care of n number of different small things before you can actually ship the product.
Mm-hmm.
After we were done, we launched the product just before our compres. We got done with our compres and all of us went to Bangalore. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we took an apartment there and we were staying out of that apartment, working out of that apartment, and that's where we got our uh, set of customers. I think Mohit can tell about how we got our customers.
Yeah. For before that, just on your question, so the way I remember it, it was like getting these small pieces done, pieces of work done, right? And so there was this designing work, there was this backend development going on, plus how do you backtest those algorithms that was being made, and those all works were being done. And at that point, when you talked about, right, we were working out of his room, and
Yeah.
that was a 1 week period when we were about to deploy, but every
Mm-hmm.
day we were like there was some bug or the other and we were not able to deploy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was when everyone was at the same room, and we were trying to combine all those little pieces
Yeah.
together,
Mm-hmm.
and that was pretty much interesting. And that is the time when the team actually got closer. We
Yeah.
got to
Mm-hmm.
know each other better, and
Yeah.
that was the positive side of it. Um Coming to how we got our first customer was, we had this relationship with an investment advisory firm, and they also put out some algorithms on our site. If you're talking about AlgoSim, then there were a couple of hacks we did for AlgoSim.
Mm-hmm.
So, like one of them was we used to go to these Facebook groups where they talk about stock markets, right? And we used to they used to share their strategies and all of those things. And then
Mm-hmm.
what we do is we used to post like, okay, I have backtested this on AlgoSim, and this is the results I got. What do you guys think? And
Mm-hmm.
that got the ball
Oh,
rolling.
smart.
So
Everyone
Mm-hmm.
started talking about it.
it was like an indirect mention. It wasn't
Yeah,
like I'm using Algosym. You just post something that you have done on Algosym and you start a discussion on that. And then someone
Mm-hmm.
in the chat will ask, okay, what is this platform you're
yeah,
using? And
Yeah.
that's how we sort of scaled up to around 1,500 users
yeah.
in one winter.
The other
Wow.
catalyst was, we had a competition at SRCC.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it was like a contathon where, it was a final event of their entrepreneurial event, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there were a team of around 10 people, the 10 teams that were selected, and the competition was they have to make trading strategies on AlgoSim.
Mm-hmm.
So that also got us some traction, but I
So
believe,
we became free sponsors for their
yeah,
fest because of Algosym. So Algosym partnered
Oh,
with TC's fest, and
yeah,
we also got a hoarding and all on there. Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
nice.
not a hoarding. What is it called?
What do you call
Okay, anyways.
it?
Good. So, like I recently read, you guys, your AUM is like half a crore or something. How do you
Yeah.
make adults trust a bunch of 20-year-old kids?
Yeah.
So the thing is, adults have a lot of money, so they can trust you with a small amount of their money.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is something. But the other thing is,
So I believe, trust is, of course, a big factor in this game, right? Investment advisory is a business of trust. If people don't trust you, they won't give you money, right? So what we did was, initially we started off with catching hold of BITS alumni.
yeah.
Now, why BITS alumni? Because they have the money, they don't have the time, they are perfect for our product. Plus, they have this trust factor, right? As you know, the BITS alumni community is overall so closely knit. So the trust factor, the threshold already reduces, right? Then you
Mm-hmm.
get them on a demo. Once you get them on a demo, then you try to make them understand, answer to their queries. What are the things that they fear, and all of those things, and then clear their doubts one by one. And if you're able to do that, then they'll trust you.
Yeah.
That is,
Like even when I invested 20,000 in Algocard, the way you guys explained it, it was all scientifically backed and it was data backed. It wasn't that you were some, get rich quick scheme guys, right? It was all scientifically backed. And I think when it comes to educated people, that's what matters more. If you're able to give them really logically data backed reasoning, then I
Yeah.
guess parting with some amount of money becomes imperative.
The sad part is a lot of people still think that stock market is some get rich quick sort of a,
Mm,
and we still lack that financial education. But whoever does mutual funds and whoever has some experience with it knows that you can't really make that much amount of money in stock market. You can make consistent returns, and that is the best you can hope for. Like,
yeah.
if you are promising high returns, you it is associated with high risk. So we
Mm,
have also distanced ourselves from that. We try for low risk and mediocre returns. That is the way we are trying to push the product.
got it. Got it. All right. Switching gears, Gaurav, you got an internship at Amazon,
Mhm.
and it sort of gets people excited. So, how was your Amazon journey? How was the application process and interview, all of that?
Yeah. So this was in my fourth year. So in my vacation after third year, I was only doing competitive coding in order to crack this interview. So anyone who has done a lot of full stack developments and learned a lot of software engineering knows that getting a job at a big company, it's not about how much software engineering you
Mm,
know. It's about how much competitive coding you are able to do, right? So I had to completely shift to learning a lot of competitive coding, and so I grinded for like 2 months on these competitive coding platforms, and after that was done, then you have your interviews, right? So the first round is you have to give a coding test
mm,
campus. And through the coding test, they selected around 60 people out of the 300 that applied. And from the 60 people, they selected 18 for the internship through the interview. So in the interview, also they'll ask you one competitive coding question. They'll ask you one question on OOP or some other concept that you have learned. Also, one thing is it's not important that you're a computer science student. Even if you're an electrical electronics student, they will make way for you. They will say, okay, we won't ask you deep computing concepts. We won't ask you about OS or networking. We will ask you about OOP that most people have also learned in 11th, 12th.
mm,
That is how they are also accommodating. What they want to test is how good your thought process is, how good your problem solving skills are. And also, one important thing that has helped me is you have to introduce yourself quite well when they ask you, tell me about yourself. So you have to actually tell them what all things you have done in software development and how much you like it, right? When you are able to convince them that, it really helps. After that, in the internship experience, I wouldn't say it was the most optimal experience because of the COVID thing.
mm,
It was a remote internship, and it was a very crucial project, that was for sure. So they wouldn't really assign you very bad projects just because you're an intern.
mm,
It was a crucial project, and they track metrics like what was the difference before you uh, like what was the difference that you've brought about using your project. So for me, there were some tests that were running for 8 hours in the background, and after I completed my project, they were happening in less than 4 hours. So that is so these are the metrics that they sort of track, right? What was the improvement
mm,
that happened? And on the last day of your internship, you have to present to the engineering director of your division. And that is also sort of an important way in which you can network.
mm,
Also, my manager at Amazon, when he got to know about what we are doing here at Algocart, even he was really excited, and he's one of our clients now. So you know
wow,
that helps as well. And now, if we are able to make money for him, he will tell more of his friends in Amazon, and that's how you spread. So yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And
this
I think,
yeah.
especially for your business, where you have to serve sort of the rich, uh, getting people word of mouth at Amazon and all of these MNCs really helps because that's the type of customers you're looking out for.
Correct, correct.
Uh, Mohit, my question to you is: you are in electronics, right? Triple E, and right now you're handling a tech startup. So how was that transition? Or did you have to like learn some sort of tech, or what would your advice be for electronic students who are willing to get into tech, hardcore tech?
Sure. So, I wasn't that much into software development or those things. I was into quant research, right? Now, what quant research requires you from the tech perspective is Python or any data science language that you can use. So the first thing I would say to them is, learn a language. Python is the most easiest one and the most useful one that you can use. So learn a language, learn it good, then try to do a couple of projects. Right, there are lots of free projects, and I think Cleanify is also doing a good job
Yeah.
in getting these projects to these kids. I believe getting done 3 or 4 projects, it increases your confidence. It helps you understand how to build these things, and once you have done that, then you can transition further. So
Hmm.
majorly this was from online sources, online resources. It was not like I was learning some courses from our college. So you have lots of free learning resources in the internet, right? And I believe if you use them wisely, then you can learn a lot of things.
Got it. Got it.
Also, I
So,
think
yeah.
it's also about people managing skills. So even if you're managing a tech startup and you're not that much into tech yourself, you can speak to your engineers and you can try and understand what problem he's exactly trying to solve and what is it that's preventing the problem from getting solved in a day, right? Versus 3 days or whatever, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So you have to be able to really communicate well, and there are systems in which you can communicate. You can communicate in way of a to-do list or through PRDs. So there are these systems as well that you can set in place in order to communicate with your tech guys.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. My next question is, when you approach like the placement season, a lot of people who pursue startups have to choose between, going out there, giving interviews, sitting for placements, and getting a stable job versus pursuing an idea that potentially could become big or fail, in the next few years. So
Yeah.
when you reach a place where you have to take this call, how would you guys go about it? And, what would be like a practical advice that you would give to others who are sort of deciding between both these?
Actually, this exact thing happened to me. When the placement season started during 4-1, I spoke to Mohit. I'm like, okay, bro, give me 1 month. Let me get placed. And after that, we are free to work on this for the next year. So that is
Hmm.
exactly what I did. I took a break from the startup for a month. I completed my placement. I got placed, and then I joined back, and now we literally have till June next year in order to, completely have a go at this idea. And we have very little academic obligations at this point because
Hmm.
I'm doing my thesis, and it is not there's not a lot of work there, so most of my time goes into Algocard now. So once it might take you not more than 3 to 4 weeks to get the placements out of your way, and then you can get back to focusing on your startup.
Yeah. So I think this is where we were very fortunate that we both were 5 year students and we had this 1 year of
Correct.
internships, 1 year of thesis that we had to do. So we had a lot of time even if you get placed, right. If someone is in final year, doing a 4 year degree and they are confused, I believe it depends on your personal things. It depends on your personal goals. What are you trying to your personal scenario, all in all. But yeah. I would don't take uncalculated risks. So taking
Yeah.
uncalculated risk is a foolish thing, right?
Yeah.
You're still young. Doing a startup just for the sake of it doesn't make any sense. If you feel you don't have the correct vision, if you don't have the correct, you haven't built the correct team, or you don't have the correct product right till now, I believe you can take some time, do a job, reach a financial stability if you aim for it, and then go for it. So I believe it's a personal thing. Some people, they are well off, so of course they don't think about those things. But if someone, if he needs that economic financial stability, I believe that should be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the first priority.
For example, Mehul Mohan, I think he's not even sitting for placement. He's directly taking the
Yeah.
lead by doing the startup, and that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a level confidence that you have in yourself, and I mean that's
The
great.
thing
But
with Mehul was that he took a calculated risk, right? Because he was
Mhm.
already earning enough to sort of sustain
Right,
even without a job,
Yeah.
and it was like monthly income, so it was a very calculated financial risk.
Yeah.
right, right.
One more thing I would like to add is, there are systems in place in certain colleges which help you hedge the risk. So, for
Uh-huh.
example, in IITs or even in BITS, there is a concept of deferred placements.
Mm.
If you are working for a startup, and if you feel okay, this might take some time, it might take a year or so to just see if the thing is working or not, you can take a deferred placement. What happens there is you take even after you graduate, you can sit for placements again after 1 year. So
Mm-hmm.
this facility is provided in certain good colleges in India. So I think you should be aware of these things. That is there. But yeah,
Is it still there in bits?
I believe it's there in BITS Pilani as far as I know. But it's not like it's not a formal process. As in,
Mm.
you don't fill a form that I need to get deferred with.
Mm.
You have to talk to those guys. It's a kind of an informal thing. But in IITs, I feel it's a so. For example, in IIMs, it is a formal thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is there. It depends on your college. So I would say explore those options too, but in the end it's based on your personal scenario, right? You have to be comfortable with taking that risk. You have to be you have to accept the maximum loss that it can happen. So you have to consider the worst case scenario too. So if you feel okay, if I go into this and I won't be earning anything for next 1 year, what is my backup plan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or what will happen? Will I need more money? Will I need to go to my parents to get some money, or can I do something from freelancing or something or the other kind and get some income source? So it depends on a personal scenario,
Makes
but yeah,
sense.
that would be our general advice, I feel.
Yeah. So, final question. After this, we can take some audience questions, and then, whenever you guys want to leave, we can cut. Uh, how do you approach funding? Like, first question is, when do you know that you actually need money? Because I've seen a lot of people who are like, "Acha, mere paas idea hai, abhi funding chahiye," but they have no clue about why they need money. Do they actually need money to build out the product? When do you know if you need funding for your idea? And secondly, how to approach investors?
Okay. For funding, I feel then idea is not enough. At least
Mm,
to build something, because building an MVP requires nothing, and it
yeah.
shows your determination that you are serious towards solving this problem, right? So any investor, any VC won't give you money until you show them something. So I think you should try to scale it as much as you can. Give it more of your time, and if you're working, 5-6 hours a day on that thing, and you're getting some output, and if you feel okay, if I get money, I can scale this further. It depends on the type of startup too. So, for example, IoT startups, they require funding, right? Because they have to
Mhm.
build things, they need to manufacture things, and their funding might be a problem for any. But for any tech startup, I feel you can reach a scale without any funding too, just to get a POC, a proof of concept that the thing is working, and then you approach the investors.
Mhm.
think, think of it also from the venture capitalist point of view. So if he sees that you have built something without any resources, you have built a team, you've built a product, you've built some traction without any resources. If
Mhm.
the VC gives you resources, you might just build something much bigger, and that's what most VCs or even angel investors, that's what they look for. The only people that fund based on just the idea is, I think, YC, because and that is also because they look at the team, they look at the credibility of the team. So if a bunch of ex bankers is coming to them and telling them, okay, I want to start a neo bank, I want to start an internet bank, they might give you. This might select you in the YC cohort just based on the idea, but even there you have to go through the 2 month startup school where you have to build the product, right?
Mhm.
So that is those are the only people who I think fund you based on just the idea. but and but otherwise you have to build something before you go and raise some funding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and raising in money is a full-time job,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
So it's not like you can do it, give it some time and just like be like, okay, I'll experiment this. It's a whole phase, right? So when you think you are ready, when you think you have your MVP out, you have been growing, you have the numbers, and you have the POC, and if you think, okay, now I'm ready for funding, and raising investment is a full-time job, then right, you have to contact various VCs. So the first step is to create a very good pitch deck. And the first pitch deck might not be good, so the first thing would be to get your connections who are analysts into these VC firms, right? Show them
mhm.
pitch, tell them how can we improve it, how can we make it more concise, make it more impactful, do all of those things. And I think the first few pitches would be an experiment, just to get to learn what are the things that you need to do further. So take feedback, learn all of those things, improve your pitch, and then you go full on in, and just contact every VC, every investor
Yeah.
who is interested in your domain.
It would
So
take at least 2 to 3 months to close any
yeah,
round
yeah.
of funding.
And any funding, it's not like so we were
I,
seeing Silicon Valley first season of
Mhm.
that, and what in a scene what happens there is Richard just goes there because he one of the investors says that you'll get the money, so he
yeah.
just goes there and say, okay, I was here to just pick the check. But then the investor, where is your projections, where are your documents on what you want to do with this company and all of those things, and then he goes
Mhm.
like back and all of those things.
Yeah.
So it's a whole process.
So, like, ideally, what would happen is you have a product ready, and then your CEO, he's like, okay, let's raise some more funding. And then
Mhm.
for 2 3 months, he's just calling up people while the
Mhm.
team is working in the background, making the product.
Mhm.
At, while the CEO is just picking up the phone and calling different VCs and trying to raise more money for the next burn rate session.
Got it. Got it. And a lot of people think that it's free money. Like if a company raises $1 million, they're like, hey, the founder is a millionaire. But I don't think that makes sense because when you're
No.
raising money, it's a lot of responsibility and especially the growth rate that a lot of VC firms look for. I think YC suggests a 10% growth every single week. Now, this could be any metric, the number of users or the watch time could be any metric, but they expect you to find a metric which grows at 10% every single week. So if you do not want to get into that blitz scaling process, which requires a lot of hustle and you might even burn out in the process, then fundraising might not be, an ideal way. You might as well run a small profitable small business, right?
Yeah, that's true. And even people feel that they see 1 million funding, so it's
Hmm.
not like they get all that money in one point. So there are certain tranches of it too. So it's
So,
so you have to hit certain milestones
yeah.
to execute the second or third tranche. It depends on the
Oh.
and the deals that you get, but it's different from case to case.
So like you'll get let's say 400,000 right on signing the term sheet, and then you'll get the next 400,000 after you've reached certain traction, and then
Oh.
the final amount of money you'll get on hitting different milestones. So this is how the investments are tranched, and no one will give you all the money in one go.
Yeah.
That's great. I haven't. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It sort of helps the VC also, right? Because it's a blind bet.
So, yeah, so
right.
yeah, they are taking this risk, right? So more than 90% of startups fail.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they are taking the risk, and they want to make sure that their money is conserved. And even if they put money into the wrong team or the wrong product, they'll have at least certain time to save their money.
And VCs will do everything to save their money.
Yeah.
So if they have put 1 million into a startup and nothing is working out, they'll just try and get you acquired for 1 million so that they get their cash out, and you are literally left with nothing. So because
Mm-hmm.
they also have preferential
Yeah.
liquidation, so the VC will take out their money first, and you will take it out later. So
Got it. Got it. All right. So I want to take some questions. How much time do you have for questions?
We can take
like let's say
as
10
long as you
minutes.
want.
Yeah.
Cool. This is a random question, but I think it could be apt for Mohit or maybe Gaurav, since you have experienced tech interviews and stuff. How do you think people in other branches, non-CS, can sort of crack it?
Sure. So I think you could focus mostly on competitive coding. So if you want to get into software firm, focus more on competitive coding, and there would be certain computer science courses that will be offered as electives. So you can take them up, and that's how you can drive the interview. So the first round, getting to the interview, is just competitive coding. So you need to be really solid on that. Once you've done that, you get to the interview. They will ask you one competitive coding question, and they'll ask you about your experience. So in the experience, you can tell them about one or two software projects that you've worked on, maybe related to your college or outside as a freelancing gig or something. Other than that, they'll ask you about one computer science subject apart from DSA, and that could be OOP. Most of the times it's OOP because it is a sort of an encompassing subject that is heavily used in software engineering. So maybe focus more on that. So yeah,
Got it.
that could cover how you could get a job here.
Maybe you guys are observing the ecosystem. How do you feel is the job scenario and startup job scenario in general?
I feel there are a lot of new jobs being made. So like product management wasn't a thing back in 5 years back, right? It was a
Hmm.
thing in US markets, but as more and more tech products are being built in India itself, there's a sudden rise in these kinds of jobs too. So certainly lots of jobs are being made. I feel there was a hamper in COVID, but I feel everyone has adapted. Every company has adapted to the new scenarios, and they're now working.
Yeah, I think everything is back on track again.
Yeah,
Okay.
Especially if you're looking for tech, it's hardly going to matter. Maybe non-tech is affected, but if
yeah,
it's tech, there's not a lot of drop rate there.
yeah.
Are you guys hiring intern? Maybe you can give a shout out. People will apply.
Sure, sure, definitely. We are hiring interns. In fact, we are hiring in the domains of growth and quant strategy. So if you are interested in quantitative finance, you can apply to
Email
us.
ID.
You can just email to Mohit at the rate 50xinvestments.in.
Okay, hang on. Mohit at 50x investments.
Yeah, investments.in. But yeah, I feel the job market is growing certainly in India with all of these new kinds of being jobs being made. So I feel there's nothing to worry about if you have to be adaptive because certainly the market, the whole world is changing so fast that you
Yeah.
need to adapt to the new the new things that are coming up. So be adaptive, be quick, be nimble, and I feel people can get jobs at
Mm-hmm.
least.
Okay, so do you guys use AI and ML in your startups? In your startup?
So we use it. We don't use a lot of it. Actually, what happened is in the investing scenario, there were a lot of hedge funds that popped up, and they started using AI and machine learning in order to build these quantitative strategies. But what ends up happening in machine learning is a lot of overfitting happens. So your ML algorithm, it will learn the entire graph of the past 10 years for a stock, and then it will keep on predicting the same things. So you don't really want that to happen. That's why we are not that much into AI and ML. What we do is we use AI and ML to find out the exact opportunity to enter a trade.
Yeah. So coming to this topic, AI, ML, and quantitative strategy, I believe using them as a signal is not something that is good, but you can use them as an other as an enabler for other things. So, for example, using NLP to get a sentiment data, create your own sentiment data, and then using that data to predict stock prices can be a good thing. But using AI ML directly, it has a lot of risk, and that has been proven, right? Because I feel AI ML is it's like a thing where many people don't understand it. Even in the industry, people just learn about these libraries and they feel that they know about ML AI, but actually it's a lot of maths and research that goes into that, and people don't know about that, and that's why the drawbacks come in. So, for example, I was learning about this thing where Apple, the biggest company in the world, they launched some an AI ML product, a feature, something on their product, and it went badly. Like they had no idea what was coming up, right? So if such a big company they can do such fuck ups, then I feel I feel you should take it with a pinch of salt.
Especially neural networks, right? Neural
Yeah,
network is a
it's
proper black box.
yeah.
So it is just an architecture that someone has come up by running it on a lot of data. So they have just come up with, अच्छा यहाँ पे fully connected layer लगा दो, यहाँ पे convolutional layer लगा दो, and they are just experimenting with the architecture, and they don't really know how it works, right? No one knows how a neural network works, because once the data goes from left and then it comes out of the right, no one knows what's happening in the middle. So it's a proper black box. So putting people's money inside a black box
Mm,
is not a very advisable thing.
makes sense. That was a good analogy. Mohit, any finance resources apart from Zerodha Varsity?
Yep. Baby Pips is a great site. They have this quiz plus learning thing. So that's a great site to learn about these things. Plus, I believe you should follow certain people for to learn about, if so, like if you're interested in fundamental analysis, then there are very good books on value investing and all of those things. So a couple of books that I usually suggest to just kick off is Stock Market Visits by Jagdish Wagner. That is a great book. The other book is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. That's a very good book. Plus, after that, there is Trading in the Zone, and uh, there's this one more book which is very good. How I Made 2 million in Stock Markets. So it's a very old book. It has a very old philosophy, but that thing still holds today. It was like written by Darwis, and that book is like an eternal book, right? It works through ages. So I believe that is a good way to start. Just read out these books, then find your way. What are the things that you want to specialize in, right? So finance is a broad field. So I feel first
Mhm.
an introduction, and then you should feel you should try to find out which way am I trying to go into, because all of these different things, different domains require different expertise. So I believe just get a first hand understanding of what are all the things, and then find out that specific.
Specialize in one thing. So I forgot to ask about this, right? What were the difficulties that you faced? I'm pretty sure there were a lot of hiccups, but major ones that you faced while you were starting in the initial stages, and even today.
The first thing I felt was, we didn't had any kind of industry experience, right? So the things that
Mm,
we were doing were actually kind of hit and trial, right?
mm,
We were very, I believe,
Naive.
not yeah, very naive in our approach too. So once we had this industry experience, we learned how startups work. We incorporated a lot of things in our system.
So a lot of thing happens through personal internships that we have done. So I did a grad internship at the end of my second year. I picked up a bunch of processes they were following there. I tried to apply them here. Then I did internship in Amazon. I understood how big corporates work, and then I tried to apply it here. Mohit did his internship with Mudrex, which is similar startup in crypto space, and he learned a lot of things there, how they were functioning. We try to apply it here. So I think
mm,
this
Yeah,
is actually very important. You shouldn't just start up on zero experience. That doesn't make sense. You have to understand what other people are doing in the industry, what your competitors are doing in the industry. In fact, every time we send a mass mail, each and every one of our competitor CEO opens it and sees what we are doing. So it's very important to understand what your competitors are also doing. And this is one of the things. The other difficulty we faced was also obviously also from BITS admin. So we were supposed to go to Y-combinator, and it was in the middle of the company. Those guys were not allowing us. In the end,
oh,
they ended up allowing us, but yeah, like they gave us a lot of
trouble.
difficulty.
yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. The first thing is how to run a company, right? That we talked about. So you need to get some experience. The way I suggest is to work at a startup. So work at a startup which has a small team with great founders.
Right.
You work there, you learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
Even if you have a very uncool job, I think you should take it just
Yeah.
get to know how do they function, how do they work, what are the things that they do. So we learned a lot of things, how we can document better, how we can delegate tasks better, and all
Yeah.
of these things they grow as the company culture, right?
In fact, Mohit picked up the phone, he called up the Matrix founder and said, I would like to work for free with you, even though he has experience in the same field. But he worked with them for free for a month and learned a lot of things. It's very important that the startup you choose to work for has really good founders. Don't work for any random startup.
Hmm.
Work for a startup that has founders with a lot of previous experience. The Mudrex founders, they had two successful exits before this, and that's a big thing in the Indian startup space. So you have to choose properly where you want to work for, and it doesn't matter if you're working for free initially, because it will eventually help you land better jobs.
Got it. Got it. So I think this question was posed after I said you guys were hiring. Do you look at degrees?
No, of course not.
No.
We don't have degrees yet. We wouldn't be able to hire ourselves then.
Yeah. Also, you guys were talking about previous experience, right? And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I'll give you an example of Clinify. It's a community, right? And I interned for Pushstart, which was a community of entrepreneurs, and I
Yeah,
used pretty much the same framework that they had set out for building their community, and it's sort
exactly.
of replicating it over here. And yeah, internships and working in a startup like plays an important role and gives
Yeah,
you a good framework, so you don't have to do the hit and trial method. You already have like a path set.
yeah.
And maybe that's the reason why people who already have an exit tend to perform much better. Like second time founders and third time
Yeah.
founders tend to perform much better than first time founders.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you learn as you grow, right?
Yeah,
And
you won't make the mistakes you've made once.
yeah.
Hopefully,
Mm,
so that at least 90% of the times you won't. So that's a big plus.
Plus, I
yeah.
feel interning at any startup to learn. I feel you should mm, uh, you should actually go out of the box and ask them things and get to learn more and more. So some people are very shy and they just try to be restricted to their work. But I feel that is not the way to go. If you're working at us, that's the benefit of the small team, right? That you can get to learn from them what was their experience, how do they tackle challenges, how do they tackle certain problems, look at their thinking process, understand their thinking process, learn something from that. So I believe you should always ask for these things when you're working at a startup because
Yeah.
that will help you grow better.
Like I'll give you an example of my co-founder, right, Shreyans. So he interned at Grow as a content writer when he like went in, but eventually at the end of the internship, he was working with the strategy team. So you just have to get in, and then
That's
the
good.
startup is so flexible that it's easy to get in. And
Yes.
now the founders are like so big, they're valued at like more than $200 million, and he has the WhatsApp number of the founder. Like he went in at the very early stage, so they're like good friends now.
Nice.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's take one last question. And okay, someone's impressed by your confidence, Mohit and Gaurav.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think Mohit can answer this the best.
Sure.
How to remove shyness and speak with confidence.
Oh, so yeah, I feel, initially I was very shy when I came to college. I didn't had that much confidence, but there's no easy way to go about removing that, but there are certain steps that you can follow.
Yeah.
The step is uh, go out of your comfort zone, do things that you wouldn't do normally, right?
Yeah.
So
And I think most importantly, drink coffee before interviews. That helps a
yeah.
lot.
So, if you feel you're uncomfortable talking to girls, go out, talk to a few girls, and what's the worst that could happen, right? So these are the things that you feel initially, right? But
Yeah.
I believe you have to go out of the way, just give it a shot, and you'll learn, bit by bit that people don't think that much about, the way you talk or anything like that, which
Yeah.
which lowers your confidence, right? So
Everyone is obsessed about themselves. No one is
yeah,
going to keep
so
thinking
so
about
once
you.
you lose the idea that you have these things that are putting out a bad impact on other people or some things that might lower your esteem. I feel, yeah, once you get rid of all those things, then you'll automatically become confident.
Hmm. Makes sense. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in. I learned a lot, especially about the investment part that you told me. You need to hit certain milestones before getting the funding. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people also enjoyed the podcast. So thanks a lot for joining in. And
Thanks a lot for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone who's watching.
a lot
Yeah.
of people were asking for your number. So if at all you want to reach out to them, I think you guys are there on Instagram.
Yeah, we are on
Just
Instagram, LinkedIn.
hit us up on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and we can take it forward.
Great.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, thanks, team. Thanks, Harish.